Good evening, Vlogmas day 16. So I took a couple of days off, which was not intentional, and I was going to try to put a compilation of catch-up days, but Saturday I went to the Museum of Natural History and I did vlog some there, and I did vlog when I woke up in the morning, but I feel like it's not even enough footage for a day, and I did vlog there, but I was with my friend and her son, and I didn't really want to put them in the vlog because I didn't ask her yet. Not that anybody's really watching these videos or anything, but it's still on the internet. You still need to get permission. I didn't ask, so I was like, you know what, I don't really want to put that footage in here either. And then Sunday, I was so tired. All we did was just lay around all day and watch Watchmen, and then I started watching Fuller House. That's how I know it's Christmas season too, when Fuller House comes on, because it always comes on in December, and so like that's one of the things that I do around this time. So because being that said, so over the past 2 days, I really wasn't really even doing much, and I didn't even vlog much. And I do have a bunch of cleaning to do. But another issue that's also annoying me too is that I don't have enough storage on this phone. So I was been going back and forth as to whether or not I'm going to get the 11 Pro. And I think the final decision is that I'm getting it because I do like this phone, and I have the iPhone XS Max, and it's a good phone, but I only have 64 gigabytes of storage. I wasn't thinking when I first got it I should have got 256. I don't know what was in my brain. I'm just like, oh, I don't need that much storage, and I actually do. So yeah, so with that being said, I'm gonna get the other phone. I don't know when. I don't know if it's gonna be this week or next week, so I'm gonna think about that and go from there. So I haven't really been doing too much the past couple of days, and I meant to vlog this morning, but I was running late as per usual, so again, whatever. But I did have a topic that I wanted to talk about tonight, which I figured that would be my Vlogmas day 16 video. So basically, I was watching a video from a family that I like on YouTube, and they were talking about their New York City family. And so she was talking about the reasons why she likes New York and why eventually she wants to buy what do you call it, a house in New York and things like that. And ever since I moved to New Jersey, I've been wanting to do a video like this, where a New York versus New Jersey video, where I talk about the differences between the two states. So I am a born and bred New Yorker. I was born in New York City, grew up there my whole life, never thought that I was going to leave. When I moved to New Jersey, a lot of my friends were shocked because I had always said I'm never leaving. I love the city. I love it, blah, blah, blah. I want to raise kids here, blah, blah. Because a lot of my friends would always say that they didn't want to raise kids in. I'm like, the city has so much culture, and it's this and it's that. And why would you want to, oh, my hair, I got to blend my leave out a little bit better. Why would you want to raise kids anywhere else? Yada, yada, yada. And I was like, but, you know, I want to raise kids here in New York City. So now, fast forward, I have my daughter, and we were so basically after I had my daughter, we were living in Brooklyn, where I was living, and we were all pretty comfortable for the most part. But then at the same token, it's like I wanted my daughter to grow up in her own house and stuff like that, and, you know, just have a certain type of life that I never had. So we started looking for houses in New York City. We started off, at that point, Brooklyn had just gotten way too expensive. I lived in Bushwick, and I lived in Bushwick before it was like the Bushwick that's trendy now. So I lived there since like I was in middle school, when nobody wanted to be from Brooklyn. Nobody wanted to live there. It was still a dangerous area to live in. So I was living in that Brooklyn. And had I had been smarter and I would have bought something back then, I would have been in a better position now, but we're not going to dwell on that. So we were looking primarily in Queens and in Long Island. But the issue is Queens prices are still a little pricey, and Long Island's taxes is nothing. Long Island's taxes are like, for a pretty decent area, is gonna run you anywhere from 12,000 a year to like to the fancy areas like 20-30,000 a year. So the taxes can get up there. So we were looking in Queens and Brooklyn, Queens and Long Island, didn't really find anything. Then finally we found the house in Jersey, fell in love with it. The rest is history. We moved here. So I've been living in Jersey for 2 years now. Yes, 2 years. 2 years in October. So these are some of the things that I have just come to now realize that I really, really love. And I'll just give you some of the main differences that I see between New York City, and New Jersey. So the first main difference between New York City and New Jersey, of course, is going to be cost. Things do not cost as much in New Jersey as in New York, which is true for a lot of places. But to me, it's kind of weird that it's like all you have to do is just go right outside of New York City, and then the cost of living and cost for things just go dramatically down. So for instance, like when you go to Target, if I were to buy something in Target, say for instance, there was this nail kit one time I wanted it in Target, and they have smaller Targets in Manhattan now, and I went into the Target in Manhattan to buy it, and then that Target, it was $30. When I came over to Jersey to look for the same nail kit, it was like $23. So to me, that's a big difference, a $7 difference. And obviously the reason why it's more expensive in Manhattan is because of real estate. Real estate costs way more money in Manhattan. So they can't price things at the same way that they would price it in Manhattan versus how they would price it in New Jersey. So in New Jersey, things are just cheaper. Houses are cheaper. When you buy things in the store, they're cheaper. Even when we came to close on the house, we went to this little diner near our lawyer's office. And for breakfast, for myself and my partner, was like under $20. That never happens in New York City. Minimum, if you go somewhere to have breakfast or whatever, a good deal is probably like $25-30 for two people. So things like that. Going to the store, grocery stores, even utilities. When I talk to some of my friends who own houses in New York City, like their water bill comes every 3 months. And on average, so you pay in New York City, you pay a water bill every 3 months, and on average, it's about $400 every 3 months. That breaks down to about like a little over $100 every month. In New Jersey, my water bill doesn't go over $60 a month. When I said that to one of my, she's like, what? Yeah, my water bill doesn't go over $60 a month. My electric bill hovers around $100. Whereas in New York City, where we had an apartment, the electricity bill for the apartment was about probably, and in the summertime, yeah, over $100. So now we have a whole house and it's just cheaper. My gas bill, same thing. We heat the whole house, and we have gas and we heat the whole house and everything, and that's still under $100 a month. So my utilities for the month is probably hovers around anywhere from like $250 a month, somewhere around there. And I was even talking to one of my friends at work, and she was telling me about one of her bills, and it's one of the bills is like $250 a month. So a lot of things are just cheaper in New Jersey. Like you just get, and especially if you work in New Jersey, you see a lot of people who will work in New York City and then live in New Jersey or live in any of the tri-state areas, because if you can take your New York salary and live in another place, you get more bang for your buck. And when you're living in one state, working in another, you don't pay taxes in both states. You pay taxes, so I pay taxes in New York City, and then I get a credit for Jersey. So one hand kind of washes the other. So cost is one of the biggest factors. Like when you see how much further your money can go in a different place, and when you see how much cheaper certain things are, it kind of is like, wow, like why is it so expensive? Like I do get why it's expensive, because in New York City, utilities and stuff is going to be more because it's more people. It's more people on the grid for electricity. It's more people using, it takes more manpower to make a city of that magnitude run. So things are just going to be naturally more expensive. Whereas my town here in New Jersey, it's not that many people on the grid, not that many people using water at the same time. So it's just not going to be as expensive. But cost is a big factor between the two. My second point about New York versus New Jersey is way of life. I just live a totally different way of life in New Jersey. I don't have to go to the laundromat anymore. Thank God. Now, I'm somebody who actually likes doing laundry, but I do not like going to the laundromat. I don't like washing my clothes with other people. I feel like other people are not clean. I never used to fold my clothes at the laundromat, which used to annoy me because I like to fold my clothes right out as they come out of the dryer. But one time I saw this girl laying on one of the changing tables in her outside clothes and her sneakers, and I'm like, people are gonna fold their clean clothes there. Why are you laying on the changing table like that? And that leads me to another thing. New York is a densely packed city. It's a lot of people everywhere all the time, which is not always a bad thing, but then it's like and because you have to go outside to do everything. So most people in New York City do not have washer dryers. So you got to go outside to do laundry. You got to go outside to the store. You got to go outside a lot to do a lot of things. And you're always in other people's faces. That's why people sometimes talk about New Yorkers where sometimes we just try to block people out. We don't even want to see or whatever, because it's like you're constantly surrounded by people. Then on top of that, because your apartment is smaller, you don't have enough space for certain things. So like here in Jersey, I go to big box stores now. So I go to Costco when I stack up on water and paper towels and blah, because I have the space to store all of these things now. Whereas in New York City, I didn't really have the space for that. So I can only buy a certain amount for a certain amount of time. And then I'm constantly going back and forth to the store. Whereas now I can go to Costco like once a month, stack up on the stuff I need, and I don't have to think about that stuff for a long time. Whereas in New York City, that's not how it goes. So your way of life is just different. You have to go outside a lot more. You have to go be out in the world a lot more, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But then I am someone who likes to be home, and I'm someone who likes downtime, and I'm someone who, if there's a day where I don't want to go outside, I like that I have the ability where I don't have to go outside to do laundry. As long as I have food and all that other stuff, I can kind of just stay inside for a day and not really have to go outside. And even when I do go to stores, going to Trader Joe's or Target or any of those stores, they're not always as crowded. You go to Trader Joe's in New York City on a Sunday or after work, oh my Lord, the lines, the people, it's insane. And again, it's not a bad thing, but at the same token, I don't always want to be in a crowded area in a whole mix of people. That's just me. Some people don't mind. If you come from a small town, you might find that You might find that refreshing. Being in New York City my whole life, I don't find that refreshing anymore. So way of life is just different. You're not around as many people. You have certain amenities. There are certain amenities that I have now that are just unheard of in New York City, like having a washer dryer, having a driveway. Oh my Lord. The drama that used to ensue with trying to find parking spots, and you got to make sure that you're home at a certain time. Then another thing too is once you get the parking spot, God forbid you want to leave to go anywhere and go do anything. You cannot do that, because then when you come back, you're going to be driving around for how many hours looking for parking, blah, blah, blah. Even though I did not drive in New York City, my partner did, and so I was a part of it. And now when I go to New York City, I do not look like looking for parking on the street. That's not something I want to do. So if I can avoid it, I try to avoid it at all costs. So having a washer dryer, having a driveway, And even too, like the other night, I went out to the store late at night because I can go to the store and come back and park my car in the driveway. I would never have done anything like that where I used to live, and I would never have done that. It's just unheard of. You don't do it. So things like that, the way of life, and it's like I feel like I can like release and breathe more. Like I don't tense up when I have to do something because I know I'm more likely going to be able to get to do it. It's not going to be too crowded. Now because it's holiday times, you see a lot more people out, but still it's like getting things done. Like I know a lot of my friends who live in New York City, like when they do anything, you have to have a game plan. It's like if you're going to go to the laundromat, you got to make sure you go at a certain time on a certain day and a certain hour when you know that you're going to have enough washer and dryers to have to yourself. You know that if you're going to go to Trader Joe's or you're going to go grocery shopping, you're going to make sure you go as early as you can, because the earlier you go, the less people there are, the less lines, and you can get in and get out. So it's like you might not do laundry on the same day that you go grocery shopping, because if you got to do laundry early in the morning, you can't go grocery shopping early in the morning. So you got to do your laundry on this day so you can go early. You got to do grocery shopping on this day. And then you got to make sure that you're home at a certain time so you can get a parking spot wherever you live. It's a lot and it's intense. And then if you don't have a car, then that's a whole other animal, because what's nice now is I don't lug groceries anywhere anymore. I go to the store, get my stuff, put it in my car, go home. Even the other day I went to Lowe's and the woman was like, oh, we don't have any more bags. And I was like, oh, no problem. I was just going to throw it in my trunk. You can't do that in New York City. People don't drive everywhere. If you go to a store, you have to get a bag to carry your items out, and you have to lug them all around the city until you go home. So that is not my reality anymore. So the whole way of life in New Jersey versus New York is just totally different. Yes, I drive more now, but because I have to get around and stuff like that. And the last thing that I would say is the biggest difference between New York and New Jersey is culture. Now, this is a plus on the New York side for me, because I feel like when I was in New York, I was living around a more diverse group of people. Young, old, from different backgrounds, ethnicities, all of that. All of that in New York City. I encountered it every day. Going home, going to work, walking around, you encounter a lot of different people. Whereas here in New Jersey, it's more or less black, white, where I am, black, white, and Latinx. Those are the main three groups of people that I see. And not to say that those three groups in and of itself is not diverse, but it's those are the main three groups. And also where I live, I don't feel like there are as many young people, like young moms and stuff like that in my age range where I am. I feel like it's mostly a lot of what's the word? I don't want to say middle-aged, but older people than us. Like even in my daughter's school, like I don't know how old all the moms are, but I don't really, one of the moms I know, she's around my age, but I don't know how old everyone else is. Yeah, it's not as many of people in my age range that I feel like I encounter too many. So New York City definitely has more culture, has a more diverse population of people. So New York City has that. But because I also still work in New York City, I still think that I'm exposed to that, because I still get to I go to New York every day to go to work. So I don't miss it too much. If I completely left the tri-state area, I feel like I would miss it a lot more. So those are the three main differences that I found being a New Yorker who now lives in New Jersey. Cost of living, way of life, and culture. Those are the main three things. But other than that, I do not think that I'm not going to say never, because I never know where life is going to take me. But after living this way, how I live now in New Jersey, I would not want to go back to living like that in New York City. Because I feel like it's a lot. And I feel like I'm more relaxed and more calmer here. Like I feel like going back to that would stress me, give me more anxiety, a little bit more, to have to do things, to have to hustle, I don't like doing any of that. My commute is a little longer, but it's okay. Oh, another honorable mention about New York versus New Jersey: rodent problems. Oh my, I cannot. Even you can have the cleanest house in New York City, you can do everything, but because it's so many people on top of each other, and I don't like the way that the way they dispose of garbage in New York City, you have a lot of rat and mice. You just have a lot of them. And we were able to kind of do things to our apartment to make sure we didn't have any, but then people all around us still had them. So it's like, that is something that I do not miss. I do not miss being around so many like rodents and critters like that. I do not miss that. Oh, and another thing to add to way of life is that in my apartment in New York City, I was not allowed to have animals, whereas now you have your own house, and now we have a cat. So this is like my first time in my life having a pet that I take care of. So that was another thing that added to my way of living. I like having a pet in the house. I like taking care of another animal. So yeah. So those, again, were my main differences from New York versus New Jersey. You know, so when you're thinking of a place to live, I think that everyone should live in, I think that if you want to live in New York City, you should at some point. But I don't know if it's a long-term solution to live there and then never leave. Because I feel like if you live there and you never leave, then it's good to experience what it's like, but I wouldn't say it's like healthy for long term. That's just my personal opinion. And this is from someone who never thought she was going to leave. Now that I'm out of that kind of bubble, I see what it's like on the other side. I think I'm going to stay over here. At least I'm going to stay over here as long as I can. So that was my little spiel on New York versus New Jersey. And I will see you tomorrow for Vlogmas Day 17. So I took a 2-day break, but I'm back.